Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being again here with us tonight. Before we get started, I want to tell you about something. One of the applications. Last time, Monday, it was like a long time ago, with Community Action Services and Food Bank. They have 3 applications, and one of them is for the food bank. And in their application, they forgot to include a committed funding that they have, $241,000 from the giving machines that were set up over Christmas. So
that's how much they got.
Wow.
Yeah, they have that money there. It was just an oversight. They forgot about it. But they're also going to be talking to the church who's giving them this money to see if they can use any of that for other than food purchases. Because right now, that's what it's supposed to be used for, just for food. And they'd like to be able to use some of that for salaries. If they have the ability to do that, then they may withdraw their application from CDBG, given that not many of, or maybe any of the other agencies have access to any other kind of funding, and they want to make sure that it goes to, that it's fair for everyone. So Karen just wanted us to make you aware of that. Yes?
What's the amount they're getting that they might get?
I think that they are asking for $30,000.
20.
Oh, they're getting $241,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's
I gotta say.
I was just
a bit of money there. All right. Okay. So does anybody have any questions from last time? Any questions from today? Are we all okay with what's happening? Okay, we have
Yeah, we just need to
3 applicants today. Is it 3 or 4? Yeah. Presentations?
6
More than
more.
that. 6 more. There's only 3 presentations. That's what I was going for.
Yeah. We need to approve the minutes now.
So, okay. Oh, 9 applications to listen to. Yeah. All right. Kenneth passed around minutes. So I hope everybody has a copy of that. Are there any other issues that we need to cover?
So the way the city of Orem does our minutes is we do just very short minutes, and then we record the meeting, and then we put the meeting up on the YouTube channel, so that's what we have done here. But we all have to have these minutes approved. So we just need to have a motion to approve these minutes, and a second, and a vote, and then we'll go from there.
So is there a motion, if you have read through the minutes, is there a motion to approve?
I would approve, I would vote to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think that was a unanimous vote. Thank you, Kenneth. We're good?
Thank you.
All right, and who's controlling, or who's talking to with applicants?
Jess is out there organizing.
Yeah, but we are you maybe, okay, maybe Frost is doing that, sorry, okay. Very good. So are we ready to go, maybe Frost?
I'm ready. Everybody else got plenty of sugar and water and all that good stuff? Okay, let's go.
All right,
I don't think Wasatch is first.
who's first?
Neighborhood housing, NHS.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're the only, they're the only ones of the 3 that are here that have a presentation.
Thanks.
Say that again?
There's only
3 presentations. Yeah. Come on, front.
Okay. Hey guys, from Neighborhood Housing Services of Provo, we have Eric Jorgensen and Sharlene.
Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Well, just review we're going to take about 12 minutes with you. So about 6 to 7 minutes of presentation, and then we'll have, if we need it, about 5 minutes of Q&A. We might keep your on Jess here. She's got all kinds of neat signs for you.
No problem.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so this is a fund request for Neighborhoods Mountain Country Home Solutions for our community, actually financial stability program. So a little bit of a background, our counseling services have been offered for over 20 years. They include, we started with home buyers education, and then we expanded our service to financial literacy workshops, rental counseling, foreclosure prevention, and with loan modifications when it can be applied, reverse mortgage counseling for our seniors, and then pre-purchase and post-purchase counseling. And all of these services are offered to our LMI families, low to moderate income families, which is 80% or below area median income. Our client base it started in 1995 with 30 families and about 65 individuals.
That's approximate, because we didn't go back into the records that far.
But that was a number that we've all remember. We just finished 2019 helping 1,168 families, or approximately 262,665 individuals. So you can see we've grown quite a bit in this amount of time.
Is that per year, or is that?
That's 2019.
Just 1 year. Since through 2015 through 2019, which is a 4-year span, we have helped over 5,019 families or 12,000 individuals with these programs that we offer. And that just in Utah County translated to 339 families or 773 individuals that we have helped with our services. And to just kind of put that into perspective, that's 19 blocks of single-family homes in a community. So it's
Square blocks, there's
that's,
about 18 per block.
that is a large swath of people that have been able to, maintain their financial stability and their homes because of the services that we have provided.
And that's only in the service area that this grant would cover, so Lehigh's not in there. Okay, we have a testimonial. We get these all the time, but I just wanted to let you know, this was from Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, and this is a quote. It said, "We cannot thank you enough for everything you did the last 3 months for us. Having fought the battle for over 2 months by ourselves was awful, and we couldn't have done it without you. All of the long days of phone calls, trying to get everything figured out, only to be rejected once again. Finally, here we are 5 months later, and everything has worked out the way we wanted. Your dedication to helping us was amazing." This was a foreclosure prevention client. And they come in and they are on the verge of losing their house. They've generally got a sale date, a foreclosure sale date. And we can usually, as long as it doesn't happen tomorrow, we can generally get that date stopped. Our foreclosure counselor is amazing. She's got about a 70% record of helping people retain their homes and work through modification. Or help them in some other fashion, but they generally stay in their homes. Now, is it this top one, Eric?
It's the arrow right there,
This one?
the right arrow.
Okay, in 2020, this is what we are expected to do. We are expected to have an overall client base of about 3,214 people. Our counseling clients is about a little over 2,900. The Utah County client base, all of Utah County, excluding Lehigh, is 570. No Lehigh. We've just left Lehigh out. And then the LMI Utah County base, the LMI is 450 of that 570. So that's a lot of people that we are helping in some fashion, either find housing, keep their housing, purchase housing, get their financial affairs in order so that they can move towards the housing function that they want to do. This CDBG request is $25,000. You're still not holding up the sign. We anticipate hiring somebody about 8/1. We need more counselors. We are so swamped. And so we're asking for your help to bring on an additional counselor so that we can expand our services and meet with these people and get something going a little quicker than what we are at this point. And we would like, that person has to begin counseling. Now this person has to become HUD certified. As of August 1st, every counselor has to be HUD certified. Right now, all of our counselors are HUD certified that we have on staff. It's not an easy test. They have to become reverse mortgage counseling certified. That is a federal test. It is hard. Most people fail at least once or twice. And then you have to have 40 hours of education to get that. And then HBE counseling certification is also required to teach that. So there's some training that has to go on in here. And so we would envision that we would like to hire that person and get them counseling within this time frame. We believe that the best way to predict the future is to create your future. In other words, we encourage people to get in touch with us and let us help. Questions?
So the funding is basically to bring another counselor on to be able to increase capacity?
It is. It is. Now, if you'll notice in the application, one of my first questions was, how are you going to sustain this in future years? And if you didn't ask me that, I would be surprised. And NeighborWorks America, based on production, we are number 4 in the nation for counseling. Nation in Little Utah County. And so overall, across the nation, in 3 years, we're number 2. And so we need, our services are in such huge demand. And so we would like to bring on another counselor so that we can help people quicker.
So you're asking for 25,000?
25,000.
And that's all you're needing?
No,
Okay.
we are bringing to the table 23, and we have that money in our bank account.
Does this mean that because you'll have larger capacity, you'll get more other funding in the future then? And
Exactly. It increases our production, and then NeighborWorks America increases our
because you have
our
more
allocation.
capacity.
Exactly, because we have more production.
Perfect.
I mean, we blow almost everybody out of the water with production.
So it appears that you're not giving financial assistance to anybody, it's just that there's these doors that nobody knows where they're at, and the counselors, you're helping facilitate people to the right places at the right time. Is that kind of a paraphrase?
Exactly. In our foreclosure prevention, people can't get a modification without our help because we have, first off, we have established relationships with most of the lenders, PennyMac, Wells Fargo, all of the ones that are the big funders, Chase, all of those. Then we also know the rules and they don't get to pull the wool over our eyes. And so our counselor, she kind of wears a dog collar. I've seen her yell at servicers, and they don't, where they're HUD certified, they don't argue with us much.
You mentioned you're number 3 in the nation. Can you clarify what you mean by?
Number 3 means that, okay, there are 240 NeighborWorks organizations across the nation that all do counseling. And we are like I said, we're at number 2 over a 3-year period, and we're at number 4 during 2019.
For production.
For production.
For volume.
Yeah, for volume.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this relate to the other program, the low-income housing or the rent, the homes that NeighborWorks operates?
Doesn't really, it's a
They're not
separate
connected.
business line, and we're connected.
Well,
That's
so
us.
all of the, like our rental counseling
Yeah.
and budget counseling, the financial literacy, all of our renters
Go through it.
They go through
have
this
to go
too.
through that.
Yes.
It's required. And then at Central Park Station, it is as well. It's required that they all take financial literacy courses from us as well.
Yeah, they don't get the keys.
So they do
They don't get the keys.
interconnect
They
in
don't
that
get the
respect.
keys. Nobody gets the keys until they've been through the class. So that's the connection, but we do, most of our business is separate from our rentals. Sarah, I'm sorry, didn't understand that. Any other questions? I think we're on track to do more, and sadly, I would tell you that foreclosures is diminishing. I think the economy's really good, but we saw 98 families just for foreclosure prevention in 2019. That's a lot of people.
Do you keep track of like how long they've been in their home?
Uh,
Like how long, on average, how long are they in their home before the foreclosure? So I guess what I'm saying is, are these people that bought a home pretty recently?
No.
So
No,
they're
it's all
classes?
spectrums
It's
and
all
it's all ages as well.
Okay.
I mean, we get young couples, but we also get a lot of elderly and then middle-aged families.
I would
That
say
have just they've had a traumatic
They've had
life
an
event,
event.
or something, and it's
Divorce is a big
put them
one.
behind.
Okay.
Divorce is a big
And
one.
the loss of the job, those are
Yeah.
probably our two
And
biggest.
medical bills.
So,
That can really sink a family quickly. Okay?
Any other questions? Thank you.
You bet.
thank you so much, we appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time.
yes, thank you so much.
Scribbled out. Okay, that's right.
So is Julie on the phone?
She has some kids, but she uses technology.
I saw your night,
Do we need to disclose things from like way in the past?
Sorry, what?
Do we need to disclose relationships from way in the past?
No, I think it's just current,
Okay.
and only just to meet a family member, so you already meet a family member.
Right, I was on the board for NHS 10 years ago before they started doing special foreclosure housing.
No, it's only if you have a financial, current financial for you or one of your family members. I guess that's how the state is, I'm assuming CDBG would be the same.
With HUD is a year.
Okay. So a year. But it wouldn't be that you were, only if you were paid as a board member and you got something out of.
Yeah, and I was never
this.
paid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was before the 2008 financial crisis, and they shifted their focus a lot after that.
I think we're just looking for the thumbs up. Are we ready? Hey guys, with Mountainlands Community Health Center, we have Robison and Todd Bailey.
Welcome,
Welcome.
glad to have you here.
Well, it's good to be here.
We'd like to spend about 12 minutes with you
Terrific.
and about 6 to 7 minutes presentation. If you look at Jess here, she'll kind of know where you're at. And so we'll come over to you, okay?
That's awesome. Thank you. My name is Todd Bailey with Mountainlands Community Health Center. This is Amanda Robison from the same. We're here to tell you a little bit about Mountainlands Community Health Center and a little bit of an ask. We've been we established in 1992. We've been here a bunch of years now. Last year is one of our biggest years ever. We saw 20,060 patients. And about 16,000, just over 16,000 of it came from your area, what you represent. Utah County, Provo, and Orem. That's a little bit deeper in the presentation. We had over 55,000 visits last year. We delivered 238 babies last year. All that prenatal and postpartum care happened at our Provo site. We are a medical home for those that need care. In your packet that we just handed out, you'll see some of our local sites here. The main site there in Provo. We also are co-located with Wasatch Mental Health on 8th North and Freedom Boulevard. And then we also have the only health center established to serve those that are experiencing homelessness. They're co-located with Food and Care Coalition in East Bay. Last year we served 750 some odd patients at that site. It's a very busy site. Those patients come much more frequently than other patients. So we see a lot of visits in that location. We are a nonprofit, and we serve those that are underserved. Most of our patients, nearly 64%, are uninsured. Nearly 69% of our patients are less than 200% of poverty, which is roughly in our community about 1 in 11 patients are under 200% of poverty and could utilize a little bit of help with their health care. As I mentioned, we're a medical home. On slide 6, it kind of reviews some of the services that we provide. Primary care, which includes family practice. All of our practitioners are board certified. Anything that you would see at any other medical home or family practice, we do in our shop. Also some obstetrics as well. We do colposcopies, we do vasectomies, we pull a lot of teeth, unfortunately, and we also do a lot of root canals. One of the things that happens is patients don't know where to go until they're in pain. And so when they finally find out about us, in some cases we have to pull a tooth or two. But we are the safety net for our community when it comes to health care. Slide number 8 talks about some of our dental stuff. Oral surgeries would be the root canals. So if you think about 743 root canals, that's 2 a day, right? That we're going in and drilling someone's tooth out. Restorative services could be anything from an extraction and other things in that regard. I was looking at some stats before I came. About a quarter of our patients have some sort of mental health issue as well. So depression and other diagnoses like that. So we're helping a lot of people out with their needs. One of the fun things about, or unique things about our organization, we also have an on-site pharmacy, and we also contract with other off-site pharmacies as well, Smith's in Payson and in Vernal. But our on-site pharmacies, through that program, we're able to purchase drugs and medications and pass those savings on to our patients. And I've shared this, I don't know how many times, you've probably heard it before. Had a BYU student who was insured, was spending $200 a month on diabetic supplies. But because he became a patient of Mountainlands, those same supplies he's able to purchase for $15. So what that allows us to do is allow the patient to get the care they need and also afford the medication they need to be compliant with their ailment, but also be able to afford rent and food and milk. And so that's one of the unique things that we have. On slide number 10, it talks a little bit about our patient base in this community, and in slide 9 as well. 81% of our population that we serve is from this community. That's 16,342 patients. And then the breakout, about 81% of this group, 6,200 is from Provo, 4,300 from Orem, and 5,800 from Utah County, excluding Lehigh. That translates into about 44,000 patient visits that happened to our community here. A lot of our patients are uninsured. As I mentioned before, 65% are uninsured, 60% of the Provo residents, 71% of Orem residents, and 66% of the county, excluding Lehigh. We're requesting $50,000 to help us offset the cost to provide care to 500 patients. That translates into about $100 per patient per visit, that is. With that, it covers everything that would happen in an exam room. So that would cover vaccines, that would cover labs, that would cover everything that would happen or that could happen in an exam room, which is a real good savings for our patients. Do you have any questions for us? Anything that we can share, or that you might have questions about what we do or what we offer?
Here you don't have any other funding, but where does the other funding for this program come from?
Patients help us as well. So it describes about, we gave $37 million in sliding discounts. About half of our income comes from grants, federal government, state government, this grant, LDS Foundation, Eccles Foundation, and other foundations. And then the other half comes from patients. They have a little bit of skin in the game, if you will. There's a little bit of a copay. For example, $30 for those that are 100% of poverty. And again, that covers everything that could transpire in an exam room. And also Medicaid, Medicare, and other private insurance. So the majority of those fundings come from Medicaid and Medicare, the patient side of it. That's a really good question.
There is some direction in the CDBG to try and have funds going to something that's not going to have to be used year after year. How is using this chunk of money going to be able to increase your capacity to a point that you don't have to just keep asking for the same amount each year?
It's an interesting question because our community is constantly growing, and it's usually not the same patient every year. About a third of our patients change every year. So even though we're serving this 500 with these monies, it may not be the same 500 next year. So it's an interesting proposition when you're talking about services and those that are underserved or poor. So I don't know how to answer that directly because what we do is we try to serve our community, those with those healthcare needs. To become independent of grants would require more from the patient. And so it's hard to build a program in that regard. We've done some great things with services, other services that have helped us reduce the burden on the patient, because without those grants, frankly, we'd have to pass it on. But we haven't had a price increase to our patient in nearly 12 years. So it's been great that we've been able to save the patient money so they can afford to get the care. And if you think the long term, I'll give an example with our East Bay site that are experiencing homelessness, right? Before we were established, we had patients, and at least one of them, I know, but there's a population that were going to the emergency department 24 times a year. After we were established, he came to our site 24 times a year and was only going to the ED 4 times a year. So if you think about a ED visit, an emergency department, costing you $1,200, that's unfunded. This homeless person is not going to reimburse that. So now you're talking $30,000 of costs that we all absorb because we pay our co-pays, we pay our insurances, we pay the hospital for our visit when we go. So we're funding that, but now because of these grants, we're able to reduce the cost to the community. So now instead of spending $1,200 at ED, you're now only spending $100 in our site. So it's a great savings to the community.
Are your healthcare providers staff or are they volunteers?
They are staff.
They're staff, okay.
Yeah, all of them are staff. We do donate space to the volunteer care clinic, and they are volunteers. They go there, but we provide on Tuesday and Thursday nights. Half of our clinic we offer to them so they could come and serve.
Is that mostly for specialists? Like you have mostly family practice or general, and then specialists come in and volunteer? Or?
Those volunteer are family practice as well.
Oh.
They're general practitioners, usually nurse practitioners and a couple docs come in. So in some regard, they are competition, right, for the same patient. But at the same time, we're also here for the same thing. We're here to provide care to the patient and help them out. It's a community rally, if you will, to help those people that need help.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You guys are great. Thanks again.
Why do I have to do this? Answer.
Guys either need more chocolate.
So I've got a question on this application. The rates are 1 for leveraged funds. Is that right?
It's just because they didn't disclose their other monies.
Yeah, they didn't, but they have incredible funds, other funds that they could leverage. I don't know why they didn't disclose that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, because their tuition dollars would count as well as the other grants.
So we could follow up
Well,
if they're
we
willing.
could, I'm imagining, and we have to check with them, the reason why they don't disclose it is because they don't actually have it until the patient comes and pays it. So it's not actually committed until they have the patient.
Can they use historic funds? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we would count that because we know they're gonna serve patients and they can look at past data
Right.
to determine how much they collect from their patients.
Well, I did the math, they asked for about half that last year, so they're doubling their ask over last year. Is that what I read correctly?
So, yeah, so they would come to Provo or.
I know, but last year they asked for 8,000 plus 5,000 plus 12,000. So it's about half of what they're asking for this year.
To clarify that, they may have asked for more, that was just what they were approved for,
Oh.
so, yeah.
Yeah, in Utah County, they never have come for services before, they've always purchased equipment.
Yeah, dental chair,
Yeah.
things like that. Blood pressure, cuffs and
They've come to Orem for services.
Yeah, I was gonna say Provo
Yeah.
services last year.
They usually run out of money fairly quickly along the way.
So they're spending it down.
Yeah, very quickly.
That's good.
I really don't know of any other options other than Mountainland that will take the kind of demographic they do.
there's not.
They're so comprehensive.
When we have homeless in our cities, they tend to fund it towards Mountainland.
Yeah.
We don't have anything to offer.
That's when it's here.
We'll have a long lunch.
Dinner's coming at 6, so we really have a long.
Hey guys, with Wasatch Mental Health, we have Kit Lane, Karen Johnson, Schumacher, and Kent Dance.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need them unless,
Okay, thank you.
I was just know to bring them in case the PowerPoint doesn't work, because that's happening.
Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We'd like to spend about 12 minutes with you.
Okay.
And it takes a 7-minute presentation, 6 to 7, and then if you'll keep your eye on Jess, she'll let you know when we have about 5 minutes left, and we might ask questions. All right?
Great, sounds great. So I'm Kip Landon with Wasatch Mental Health, the program manager for our crisis services program. We're the public mental health agency for all of Utah and Wasatch County. Crisis services really runs and operates anything that we can do to mitigate crisis mental health from taking up time and resources for our local law enforcement, fire and dispatch, and also our local emergency rooms all throughout the county. We do a lot of intervention in the schools, do a lot of intervention with our walk-in clinic, recovery outreach center, just kitty corner from Seven Peaks. So we're going to talk about how we can expand this building using the grant monies into a legitimate receiving center to divert and alleviate the pressures and the various aspects of the pinch points with law enforcement and the emergency rooms. So we've been in existence in this building as a crisis services department for about 9 years now. It used to be a day treatment facility. Crisis services needed an option other than the emergency room and an outpatient clinic. If it weren't for the emergency room or an outpatient clinic, those services don't get provided. But not everything rises to the level of an emergency room. So the old way was kind of, you think of a padded cell or a padded room when you have a crisis mental health evaluation or an admission need. That's kind of what most people think of. The new way that we'd like to be a little bit more innovative and cost effective is using kind of the personnel and the staff and integration with the staff, as well as the living room and a little bit more of a trauma-focused model. Right now we have a building, it just doesn't have quite the capacity to take the influx and the walk-ins and the appointments needed. So we have a 24-hour staff available. We have a peer support specialist and a therapist, master level clinician, always available to the community, especially to help with local law enforcement, hospitals, DCFS, and other allied agencies. They can do evaluations. We are mobile. We can go out to the client's home. We can go to wherever we need to. We also have quite a bit of things that can't be resolved in the home. That's why a receiving center, where you have kind of this living room model right here where people can wait, or a recliner room model where you can allow time and space to kind of decompress the situation. A lot of times in the emergency room, I don't know if you remember the last time you've been there, anybody get in and out in less than 3 hours? Probably not, maybe 6, depending on the issue. Nobody likes to go there, but if you think of a therapeutic environment to de-escalate suicidality, psychosis, mania, an emergency room isn't really the environment conducive to help alleviate that. They're there to rubber stamp and get people out and push through, either admitted or back home. It doesn't always resolve the problem when it comes to mental health or addiction needs. So when you have a place like this where you can have patients sit and wait and integrate with staff, and you have a few hours or even a whole day to tease things out, they don't just waste away and get forgotten like in an emergency room until their number's called. They have the ability to let time and space dissipate the heat of that crisis. So we usually can prevent an unnecessary inpatient hospitalization and alleviate the time where the law enforcement officers are waiting in the emergency room with the client until they get admitted, and they can get back out on the street a lot faster. So the model of a receiving center is where law enforcement can come as a diversion to the ER when you can't resolve that in the community, and they can get back out on the street and back out with their departments and actually be cops, actually be paramedics, be firefighters, and do the things that they need to be doing, rather than being tied up with a mental health case. The receiving center would be built out of this building. So we would remodel the Recovery Outreach Center as it is now. We would expand and remodel to make it conducive. So we already have the brick and mortar and the facility for the most part there. It would be a slight remodel.
Where did you say that is?
This is kitty corner from Seven Peaks, the water park. Okay. So that whole block, just kitty corner from there, is a Wasatch Mental Health campus. There's several buildings. Most of them are youth buildings. At the very northern end is our building right here.
Do you have any crossover with the state hospital that's also at that
We
building?
do. We work very closely with the state hospital. That's the most restrictive form of mental health treatment for youth and adults. We have a lot of other forms of treatment as well, including Utah Valley and Provo Canyon Behavioral Hospital. We interplay with all of those players, all of those hospitals. We partner with all of them. We try to keep them out of that. For our county, we have 29 state hospital beds for adults. If you think of all of the things that are going on in our society, 29 just isn't enough. I doubt we'll get more. So we need some other options to prevent them from getting really, really, really bad and have to be admitted, and we can catch it sooner. Law enforcement's really on board with this. We get drop-offs from Provo and Orem Police all the time. But because of our staffing and our facility restraints, we're limited on what services we can offer and the time that we can dedicate to those cases. This would expand and help alleviate that and be a true receiving center. All of our estimates and the things that we'll go over a little bit later on, we'll take anybody that walks in, but most of our clientele are the disabled population, Medicaid population, people who really have kind of a chronic need, but if someone or a family needed some help, we could accommodate them as well. But the majority of our folks are kind of on the lower functioning end, people that require a lot of time and resources, kind of maybe what we call familiar voices or frequent flyers. So, what questions do you all have so far? This is kind of how you would be referred to the receiving center. You could walk in, the police could bring you, the state crisis line or our MCOT teams could refer people to us. Then after the receiving center, we would organize disposition and discharge to various options, whether that's detox, home, they needed to be admitted after all, so forth.
The cool thing is substance abuse is being combined with mental health as of July 1st in this county. So there'll be a lot more options that'll be coordinated together because it's not two separate agencies. There won't be.
Is this for youth and adults then?
This will be primarily for adults. We have a youth receiving center already. We call it Vantage Point. You're probably familiar with that. But we still could evaluate youth as well. Vantage Point is on the same campus, it's just a few buildings down. We try to keep the adult crisis mental health separate from the youth. I mean, you just don't want kids and children being exposed to someone high on methamphetamine or an active mania or psychosis. You just want to keep those parties separate. But we certainly could treat both and mitigate that.
The building will have a hallway basically where the youth staff they'll have a room where they can do similar things.
We would make this our youth wing, then everything else up here would be more geared towards adults. 'Cause we have a whole building for youth already.
Okay, so this doesn't cross over with Vantage Point and their overnight stays, but this would expand Vantage Point's offerings?
We collaborate quite a bit.
Okay.
It would just help things be a lot more symbiotic.
So Vantage Point doesn't have to turn people away anymore?
This is more for adults.
We have a
But we're
separate
talking
plan for
about
that.
doubling Vantage Point at some point.
That's
So,
another conversation.
yeah.
We are working on that as well.
Vantage Point needs like a third and a fourth wing.
Vantage Point
Yes, it
North
does.
and a Vantage Point Central.
Different project. Next year.
You'll have in here the construction timelines. Are there any questions on construction timelines or things there? Just have to go through the whole bid process, getting a plan, getting it signed off, actually building it. The whole process we're hoping to take 12 to 18 months. But we would have the building and everything ready to start just as soon as the end of March, the legislative session ends. We'll know if we have some additional monies to use for some other projects as well. The receiving center is part of a much bigger continuum. We have the crisis line, the receiving center, the mobile crisis outreach team, and then subacute or semi-hospital type of beds before we go all the way to the hospital or state hospital. So the movement in crisis mental health nationwide is to build diversionary programs to alleviate the most expensive and the most intensive forms of service. And so the receiving center is kind of the crucial part of starting all of that.
And we're committed to doing that piece of it. That's what we're asking for with CDBG funds. And the rest of the continuum, we're hoping there's going to be legislative money to help do all of that.
When people are brought here by law enforcement, do they have to be there voluntarily?
Yes and no. The beauty of Wasatch Mental Health running the receiving center is we have the jurisdictional oversight for all civil commitment or involuntary holds. So legally, we are the judge and executioner of how long and if they're held against their will. So we would have we need a seat at that table, and we are part of that. So if they're pink sheeted, blue sheeted, or white sheeted under an involuntary hold, we hold and decide that anyways. So rather than the ER telling us what needs to happen, we can be right there doing all of that.
What are those different sheet designations?
It's a whole day training we can get into, but it's just the way that the state statute delineates how and why you hold someone against their will for involuntary mental health treatment. It's a civil rights thing, right? Like, I didn't take my blood pressure medication this morning, so my wife can't pink sheet me into the hospital for that. That's up to me. I have some self-determination there. But to a certain point, if you're in danger and you meet a certain threshold, the state, Wasatch, steps in and says, you know what, we're going to respect your rights the best we can, but we're going to remove those to make sure you're safe, make sure the community's safe.
So, question I have is you have, looks like 3 buckets of money. One of them is this bucket.
Yes.
You have pending from the state legislature this budget session, correct, about $140,000. You're fairly confident about that?
We are. As confident as you can be until it's signed into law, right?
It's in the governor's budget, so that's a step up from just being in the general legislative budget.
And then can I ask on the other?
Sure.
And what is that other allocation?
Depending on what we're able to get either from CDBG or from the legislation, Wasatch has reserves that we may be able to contribute to as well. So, I mean, we'll have some skin in the game, for sure. I work with Sergeant Woodward with American Fork PD and Chief Falslev, and we work really closely on some things. A lot of times they're tied up and they're just stuck out of the community and they can't get freed up. But if they had a place, even if they had to drive all the way to Provo, that would save them time than being stuck in a home with no disposition.
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
Yeah. So yeah, we want to receive those so that our other local partners can do what they need to do.
Yeah, it saves them, but also they can get treatment better because we'll have access to a psychiatrist, so we can get them hopefully started on medication if that's what they need. It's a therapeutic environment. Some they can stay for up to 23 hours. I don't know if you caught that on there. After 23 hours, if you hit 24, then you have to do the full hospital admission. And that's why receiving centers typically are on the 23-hour model with the reclining chairs instead of like a bedroom or something like that. Time's up, thank you.
Any other questions?
We didn't get really a whole lot to the budget, but a lot of that will just have to be determined by legislative. But we have a plan A, plan B, and a plan C, all of that. So, thank you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The ones asking for the most money. I feel like the ones asking for the most
They're one
money
of the-
should
they're one of
have
the-
time on our community is we're looking to expand. Oh, I would love to, if you want to contact me. I would love to, my son's been in band and several times. Yes.
So they're one of the capital projects, not the public service projects.
Sounds like the student,
So as a point of clarification, this is the other capital project.
right,
So
you said that.
we heard it from United Way yesterday or Monday, and then this is the other capital
So
project.
that's why it sounds like so much money
Right.
compared to the others.
Right.
Thank you for that reminder, I forgot. I was like 250.
Does that put them in maybe a 3 or something, or year 5? What they have.
Yeah, why did they?
Yeah, we're going to adjust the score for their own.
Their
personal
leverage.
capital.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
So we'll
we
miss that, yeah.
I think, the